This is Margaret Ann Windsor. My father is Edward VIII, who was married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, and she was Queen of England. The Church of England helped take her down. My own Uncle George, the illegal six, helped take his own brother down, and then helped President Roosevelt, kidnap me in 41. I was born in 39, Queen Victoria II, the moment I was born. I'm not going to get into rehashing information I put up, and I realize somebody will come up and say, well, we don't understand what you're talking about, and etc. I've put it up. And yes, a few people, Winston Churchill, he was close friends of Eisenhower, General, the United States General, then Truman, then etc. etc. Even I believe he was still alive and friends with JFK. They helped kidnap me. His father had been appointed ambassador by Franklin Roosevelt in 1936. That's when my father assumed the crown, became king, forced out because he chose not to take orders from the Illuminati. He refused to. So they replaced him, the ones that control your press today and everything else. It's the global government. Became that because of taking down my father in treaties he wouldn't sign. They install the monarch, who's illegal, George VI, and Elizabeth is illegal. She's a war criminal. She works for the Illuminati. And there was a list of the top three people in the Illuminati, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, that kidnapped me, Kennedys, Roosevelts. You can call them trilateral Freemasons. It's Illuminati, or global government. So the takedown of my father paved the way for the Jews to return and take over Israel. And all the treaties that are illegal, by the way, because they were illegally signed that allowed it to happen. But then who's ever going to be able to correct all this? And, of course, they kidnapped me, Victoria II, when I was born and brought me to Moulton, Alabama. Gave me another name, and life was hell, every moment of it, to me and my sons, the crimes. And no wonder they don't want it to be told. Now I want to skip to this. I put all this up. Let me remind you, I'm here in the United States, I've put up that there were a few Americans that tried to help me over the years. Part of it was the FBI and my own people. I'm talking about the average British citizen, were the ones who came over here over the years. Um, so they always knew where I had been taken. They saved my life so many times, and I've heard stories of what they had to do to stay here in this country and try to help me. So don't ever confuse what I've said. I'm going to tell you another thing here for the people that responded, because I put up how the United States actually invaded us. They took down my father. You know, the Illuminati is the American Freemasons, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, Roosevelt. Certainly, he was your president. So don't get angry at me because the American people got involved in my kidnapping, and quite obvious I'm still here. And I hope my children are somewhere okay, and I get to see them again. I've put that up. And I simply put up on a video the other day just stating a touch of how the United States made Great Britain, made us fight by ourselves. And they went in and created wars. And this whole thing was to be a global government, which it is, the United Nations, and it's countries without borders. Well, you've got Honduras and etc. coming up, and you could get mad at them because you have to have borders. That means there's no borders on the. Do I have to explain this? But it's in play now. But then you look back at what happened to Honduras. It was a British colony. all you have to do is Google and look at what the United States now controls, calling territories or what you might. But I'd like to ask a question, and you can get inflamed all you want to. I've met with that every step of the way, trying to tell about me and the horrific crimes done to me. And actually, the Americans get mad at me, like, how dare you infer? I don't want to hear this. And they really get upset. Now, there have been the few good ones, and I've always stated that. So rather than go on, I'm not going to go any further with it. I will refer back to this is after all the other stuff had happened in April of '80 when everything was stripped from me and I was almost killed. I was living at Warren House, as in the Warren Commission, and no, it wasn't okay for JFK to help kidnap me. And I've put up where you can call me a liar if you want to. What if tomorrow this whole mess is laid out? What's everybody going to say? Oh, well, I'm sorry. I really am sorry. I didn't believe it. It's so, they'll start making excuses and they're sorry. Like that makes it okay. It's not. I assure you, through my years, I have learned something. I may have cared too much for people, but I have learned a lesson. So I want to go back to Warren House. So there was a veteran from Vietnam, and I want to say there's another one that did help me later on. So, I'm not even going to compare those two. But this was at Warren House when all this was done. I was trying my best to live at Warren House Apartments and work for the district attorney in '80. By the way, his last name's Simpson, and he was a good guy. But I didn't even know this veteran that was living there at Warren House, and he said to me out of the blue, and I thought, I don't even know what he's talking about, and I felt so horrible. And he said, well, I tell you what, if we ever, I can't remember his exact words, if we ever give anything back, we won't give it back to you Brits, we'll give it back to the Indians, the American Indians who he meant. Well, I thought, well, what's wrong with him? Why does he dislike me? And I was standing there in the condition I'm in, listening to him. I didn't find out about my kidnapping till '83, and then it all made sense why the Brits were there at certain times, and I learned about my kidnapping actually and could remember in '83 after the campaign. But let me remind this person, if he's still alive, and any of the others who've made similar comments, because it's rough if you ever get behind closed doors and see the real truth that happened here. The American Indians haven't fared so good either. I heard, and this is not funny. It's so absurd. On Coast to Coast the other night, I was listening, and some guest or host was saying, well, there's plenty of land left out in the Dakotas and Minnesota, or he named off some places, Wyoming out there. The Indians have land out there, so why not bring in the Jews and put them out there to give them home? So the Indians are just tossed here and there and everywhere, and it's so absurd. You have civil rights. I haven't seen a civil right. And you talk about civil rights, the blacks, excuse me, the African Americans. I can't believe this whole thing. You have to edit your speech. And I was watching a program which it was on. It's taken off now the last couple of weeks, but I enjoyed the program. I've forgotten the name of it now, but they constantly, the blacks on there constantly made jokes about whites, and the whites were sitting there laughing too. So now Megan Kelly's about to be removed, and if I say something on here mentioning black, I'm supposed to edit and say, or you'll call me racist or something. Well, my point is maybe all this is told. I pray before I die, and somebody questioned whether I was going to heaven or hell. She was going to heaven, and she hoped how I learned how to get to heaven, that I didn't go to hell. I thought, where are you coming from? Up until I put up that video the other day about the Americans invading the UK, and they always knew I'd been kidnapped and brought over here. I put that up and made it clear. So I thought, gee, why the change in attitude? My goodness. And no, it's not funny. Not funny at all. And I pray that this is put before a world court, controlled by. You said you believed in God, and you were. Are you inferring that I don't know how to get to heaven, or? Well, I don't know. Maybe you don't either. And she'll watch this one, because up until now, I'm not going to put her name up. She'll love that. She wanted to friend me. She was on YouTube and all this, and um, she's on Facebook too, by the way. So suddenly this bothered her. Am I telling the truth? And lady, you haven't even heard all of it. Then all you have to do is say you're sorry, though, and all is okay. It's not okay with me, believe me. It's not. And do I know how to get there? I don't know. I know I'm going to get a lot of nasty comments from this one. You tell me, darling, do you step up on a spacecraft? Or you just flitter around, or what? Now then, if you try to come back at me, there's always this pro and con, and you're going to come back and, well, you're call me names and say I'm questioning. No, I'm not questioning God. I'm questioning you. You accuse me, is exactly what you did, of not knowing how to get to heaven. What in the gives you the right to make that decision? I thought that was his. H capital I capital S. I think that's how you would put it. And his name is God, capital G, capital O, capital D. So I think it's up to him to say who goes and visits his home and how they get there. And maybe you do. Maybe you're up there and you're looking down on me and saying, you poor soul. I question why you even brought this up on your comment. And that you were going to be in heaven, and that you hoped I knew how to get there. So anyway, now I wanted to say something else, and I bet this is over. No, I just saw where Meghan Markle and Harry are on a plane coming. They're in Australia. So they're illegal, and nothing against Meghan. I want to go ahead and say that. I have my question. She's an actress. And I'm not sure that's Harry, so I'll leave it there. But everybody's welcomed them then to hell with me and my sons who are legal. You know, just, uh, you know, it's been fun to everybody, evidently, most people, what's been done to me, that you can kidnap the monarch, torture me and my children, and my father, lie about him and continue to lie about him, delete my mom, who was an American. Oh my goodness, the O'Keeffes. Um, wow. And what was I going to say? The plane, the Qantas that they were on, Meghan and Harry. And hey, I believe they had the NBC Press, and I don't know who else. I think they said Savannah Guthrie, and maybe Hoda was on there. Let me remind you that the press, controlled by the Illuminati, have always known about me. Before my father was taken down, there was a press, and they've controlled it ever since. Not once have they ever mentioned what's been done to me and my sons, or about my father and my mom, the real King of England and Queen. And they were on the plane, and I don't know the other press, but man, they can't get enough of the fake royal family who represent the Illuminati. And I want to say this to, I've forgotten the captain's name on there. You might want to look. I thought, I better not say anything else. I thought he had a nice name. I don't know him. It's his name. That's all I'm going to say. My hat's off to you. Okay? I hope somebody's on my side. It looks like I really need it. Who knows? Maybe God's on my side. You never know.